you all so much for joining the Metro Minority Caucus meeting. Today is April 12th, 2021, 5 p.m. I do detect the quorum and so happy to see you all here. I move now a motion pursuant to Governor Lee's Executive Order number 65 regarding electronic meetings. I make a motion that this committee meeting agenda constitutes essential business of the Metropolitan Council and that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded that the meeting began. We have a roll call vote that we need to take. Councilmember Lee.
Aye.
Councilmember Vercher.
Aye.
Councilmember Gamble.
Aye.
Councilmember Stiles.
President, aye.
Councilmember Toombs.
Aye.
Councilmember Sepulveda.
Aye.
And Councilmember Hurt vote aye. Thank you all very much. I did not see any minutes. Were there any minutes to be presented, Rosie?
They were just sent just a few minutes ago to all the caucus members.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you all very much. Did anybody have any objections to the minutes or any additions or changes, corrections to the minutes? Thank you. So if there are no changes, then the minutes will be accepted as presented. Thank you all so very much. We have a couple of items on our agenda this evening. First, we're going to start with Parker McKay from the Nashville Action Committee. Hi, Parker. Good to see you.
Sorry.
That's
Good
okay.
to see you. Thank you.
You now have the floor to move forward with your request.
Cool. So hi everybody. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I really, really appreciate it. I'll just break down the nuts and bolts of it for you. I have a friend. I run a nonprofit in town called the Nashville Action Committee, and we worked really, really hard during the election cycle to get everyone we knew in town and those beyond that involved in the election process and to fight voter suppression. And we've been working on projects since then to help get involved with the homeless community and basically just give the people of Nashville who don't know how to involve themselves in the local process to give them resources to do so. So a few months ago, one of my friends who is a councilwoman in Wheeling, West Virginia, had told me that her city had just passed a resolution to declare racism a public health crisis. And I thought, if they can do that in Wheeling, West Virginia, we should be able to do that here. So I just went straight to the mayor. I emailed a couple of people at the mayor's office, including the mayor, and I met with his director of legislative affairs. And he said, it really should be an ordinance, but the only way we're going to be able to get anything done with the state legislature is if we make it a resolution. And he said, and you're going to need someone, a city council person, to help back you up. So I'm here today to find someone, hopefully, who will help me sponsor this to take it to city council so that we can start getting some work done.
So thank you. Are there any questions? I see Councilmember Toombs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Didn't Councilman Taylor do a resolution like this earlier? I don't remember how long ago. So much has happened. But I do recall there being a resolution similar to this.
Yes, yes, it was a resolution, and because I actually was the one that asked Councilmember Taylor if he would take this resolution. I think it was last year, as soon and shortly after the George Floyd situation had come out, because I couldn't carry it myself, and I think we all on the council did. But I don't think it specifically said that we were going to pass a resolution to uh, to indicate that racism was a pandemic, or specifically to what Parker has stated. I think what we indicated is that we did not condone racism in any way as a metropolitan city. So it was something different than that. So if Parker, what we can do is get you a copy of that resolution, have that sent to you. You can review it, and if you want something other than that presented, then it doesn't declare, systemic racism and condoning it as a city, I guess is what you're speaking of, but it
Yeah,
does
well,
speak to that point.
okay, yeah. So the idea is to declare it a public health crisis so that you can start logistically tackling it from that angle, hopefully when the budget gets redone next year. So, with things like more comprehensive diversity training, with, recent graduates in medical school, like reaching further into communities to expand healthcare access and things like that. So being able to approach it and actually like move the needle and not just say racism is bad, but here's how we can actually put money behind it in our community, get people to the doctor, get people vaccinated, make sure people know who their doctor is, what their resources are, stop lower the rate of mortality for Black mothers in Nashville, provide comprehensive training on that. So that's kind of the idea, is to make it really specific so that there have to be dollars behind it, and there's a real path to change.
Okay, so I know that a lot of those issues that you're talking about, that members of the Minority Caucus individually has submitted resolutions to address those individually. So if this is something that where all of that will come under that one umbrella as it being a public health crisis, then I do think that that may be something different than what it is that we have and what we are looking to do. Do we want to, as a caucus, to maybe come up with something or have some discussions with our Metro Legal, and then have that brought back? Councilmember Virgil just sent a resolution regarding
Madam Chair, can we take it under consideration and vote on it the next meeting? There's been several resolutions like this, and there's a lot of initiatives too that's underway that's in this space that we're currently funding, i.e.
Right.
Metro Arts is one of them. The other one is our commission. I'm trying to think of the commission.
Exactly.
Human
Relations Commission.
Yes. So
yes.
Coming from the budget itself, there's initiatives underway. My recommendation is that we take it under consideration and kind of catalog what we already have and then go from there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Right. Thank you. Councilmember Gamble.
Thank you. I just echo what Councilmember Vircher just said, that we should take it under consideration and come back with it. I wonder if it's appropriate for Parker to send us some kind of an outline of what she's describing. So as we're looking at other resolutions that we've already done, comparing it to some of the ideas that have been, I guess, introduced in other cities, as a way to kind of show what we are already doing in comparison to what is being suggested.
That's a
I have
great idea.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I have a template for you guys. I have a couple of different ones from different cities, and then I have some things that I thought might be good to build in, but obviously I wanted your input. But I can send you some of what other cities have done. It's very comprehensive, very to the point. And then I can also send you a file that I have that's like extensive research on specific data for Nashville.
Right, great. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
We do have quite a few resolutions to that. So all of you all suggestions, I think, were very well stated and something that we can take in advisement. Review what you have, Parker, and we can come up with a great solution. And then actually some of the things that we have, I think you probably would like. It has not been documented as per se a public health crisis, and that may be the difference. But we really appreciate you coming and speaking on it, and your efforts to ensure that there is inclusion and that people have the right to vote and all of the things that go along with it.
Councilmember Hurt.
Thank you. Yes.
This is Councilmember Taylor. I'm so sorry I got here late.
That's okay.
But I hear we're talking about racism as a public health crisis. RS 2024-73 I sponsored last year.
Right.
It's a resolution. It's a resolution recognizing racism as a public health crisis and declaring commitment to enact policies to defend it, minorities. So maybe we could look at RS 2024-73 and just do some work from there.
Right.
So.
Okay, great. Sharon, so is it all right if I forward you those documents I was talking about?
Absolutely. So
Okay,
you're
great.
right. It did speak as a public health crisis and declaring a commitment to enact policies. That's correct. You are absolutely right. Thank you, Councilman Taylor. So yes, you can send it to us and we can share ours with you as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
You as well.
Thank you. So next on our agenda, we have Darden Copeland, who wants to speak to us, I guess, somewhere connected to our previous guest in terms of voter rights and suppressions and elections and all of those things. So, Mr. Copeland, thank you so very much for joining us this evening, and you have the floor.
Well, thank you all, Council Lady Hurt, for allowing the time and for having me on. I don't know how up to speed everybody is. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
I know that there's been a lot of discussion about recall petitions and charter amendments, and there is now a current charter amendment. It's 6 charter amendments to be specific. In front of the Election Commission, the staff there are verifying signatures. Lots of debate, but the 6 pieces of legislation affect the metropolitan government as a whole. They also affect individual members of council and all elected officials, frankly. And so I wanted to kind of pass along what the effort is underway and what we're looking at from a grassroots standpoint. The effort by Jim Roberts, who has declined to share who his funding source is, they mailed out 200,000 pieces of mail, didn't get enough signatures. They mailed out additional pieces of mail to collect signatures from folks on a document they called the Nashville Taxpayer Protection Act. And it was to collect signatures to force these 6 questions to the ballot. And they could be potentially devastating for metro government, potentially having cuts to fire, rescue, etc. There's several provisions in there, one being that allowing for recalls. It lowers the threshold for individuals to be recalled. It also prevents, bars any person, candidate, any elected official that is recalled from ever running again on the next ballot. They cannot submit signatures to get back onto the ballot. This also The language is calling for a repeal of the property tax increase, which we know it cuts both ways. Not sure that that will actually pass muster in the courts. However, some of the other measures could potentially bar council members from running again for elected office. I think actually, Councilwoman Sepulveda, that district, it would require 124 signatures would be enough to get that council member recalled, and then he or she would not be able to run in the next election. So Jim Roberts and his group, they've sent in their signatures to the Election Commission. They are verifying those signatures now. They submitted 14,010 signatures, and the threshold immediately 1,612 were tossed out. So there are 12,398 signatures that count, and we believe that the number they need is
Yeah, so you're breaking
12,000.
up now. I don't know if anyone else was able to get what you were saying.
Can you hear me now?
Are you back? Yes.
I apologize. I'm not sure where
So
I
I
left
need
off.
you to repeat. I know, right? What we did get the part where you said that in Councilmember Sepulveda's area that it only takes 124 votes to recall in that district. So that would be for any district that it would take 10% of that district's votes to recall any council member.
Well, it's 10% of the total number of voters in that district. So the smallest
Right.
turnout in the last council election was District 30. But in District 24, for instance, I think there were 2,200 voters that came out and voted. Kathleen Murphy got elected. So it would take 220 votes or signatures, 220 signatures to get that person recalled. And I think that they've lowered the threshold. And I think the frustrating thing there is that if anybody is upset with a council member for anything, all it's going to take is somewhere between 123 or 24 signatures to maybe 250 signatures, and that person gets recalled, and then that elected official is not allowed to put their name back on the ballot in the next election. They are forbidden. That's what the new charter language would say. And so they could run as a write-in candidate. And so
And there's no recourse on the council member's part.
no, ma'am. If you have in the case of District 30, if there are 124 people that don't like you or that say, you know what, I'll give you my signature, and there will be groups out there that collect signatures just because they don't like a decision that a particular council member made, and this is just one question or one charter amendment that is set to go to the ballot if this petition is certified. Another question is that any property over $5 million or any long-term lease over 20 years has to go to a vote of the people. So this is another example where this group, who again, we don't know who's behind it, they are taking decisions away from the Metro Council. These are decisions that the Metro Council typically make and are allowed to make. You all have entered into, the Metro Council has entered into long-term leases with Major League Soccer, on the fairgrounds. The Tennessee Titans have a long-term lease. If this goes to the ballot and is passed, the Metro Council and the Sports Authority, they will not be allowed to negotiate these deals. That will have to go to a vote of the people. The Predators have a lease, long-term lease. If you all want to dispose of property or over $5 million, again, all of it has to go to the vote of the people. Even council benefits. Another item in there is that they want to eliminate council benefits. And I think that they're targeting long-term healthcare benefits, but the language isn't clear in what they've submitted. So there are a number of things in here that are problematic. They also want to repeal the property tax increase, which I don't think they can do, and legally that may not stand up. And of course, everybody a year ago was upset with this property tax increase, and so it was kind of easy to send out a piece of mail that says, do you want to repeal the property tax? Do you want to eliminate benefits for council members? Do you want to put these things to a vote of the people? you know, they capitalized on this mood at the time and got these signatures, but it's incredibly problematic for how to run the city.
So let me ask you this question, Mr. Copeland.
Yes, ma'am.
So say, for instance, we are talking about the Bordeaux landfill, and the council member in that district has 355 people who want to make sure that the landfill is not expanded, but there's 124 people who indicated that they do feel like it's okay. They can vote that person out by just saying, well, we're going to recall, and we got 100, we got enough, we got 10% of our voters to recall this person, even though there are twice as many who are in favor.
Yes, ma'am. A council member can get elected with 80% of the vote, 3,000 people in support of that person. But if somebody out there gets enough signatures, and it's just a signature, it won't even go to the ballot, but that person is automatically recalled. And according to the language, that person will be barred from putting their name, requalifying for the future ballot. There will be a special election, and the sitting member who's recalled will not be allowed to run. And for those that have been in Nashville long enough, when Council Lady Pam Murray was recalled, her name automatically reappeared on the ballot, and her constituents got to decide, do we keep her, do we not keep her? And it just doesn't seem fair to prevent somebody from running again. Now, they do say that person is that candidate who is, or that elected official who is recalled, and this applies to the mayor all the way down, that person who is recalled is allowed to run as a write-in candidate, but running as a write-in is pretty tough to do. Tom Druffel tried that, 6 years ago. It didn't work for him. It's really hard to run as a write-in.
Well, thank you. Councilmember Gamble, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Darden, for sharing this information with us. Just for clarity, are there, you mentioned referendums, so are there several referendums that talk about these various issues, or is it all on one? And how many signatures are needed to get the referendum or referendums on the ballot?
Yes, ma'am. Good question. It is very confusing. I think it's very misleading. The language that was mailed out in the single piece of mail included 6 questions. So there are 6 different items, and I can share that around to this group, or Council Lady Hurd, I can send that to you. And the signature is supposedly enough to put each of the 6 questions on the ballot individually. So if this is certified, it will go to the ballot, a special election in June, 6 different questions. You'll vote, yes on number 1, yes on number 2, no on number 3, down the line, however you see fit. The threshold that the proponents have here, they've really just got the bare minimum number of signatures. They have a cushion of 256 registered voters that have essentially been validated by the Election Commission staff. Now, this is important because the Election Commission, of which 3 members are Republican, the chair is a Republican, 3 Republicans, 2 Democrats, they would like to get together as soon as this week, potentially Friday, and vote to certify these names or these questions as having enough signatures to now go to the ballot. And this is where you all come in, and I'd like to ask for your help. If the cushion is 256, I think we can find 256 people that don't fully understand exactly what it was that they signed, and they don't fully understand what the ramifications of these questions mean for the metropolitan government. And let me give you 2 examples. We called somebody that had signed this petition in the Sylvan Park neighborhood, and she said, I'm really upset about this property tax increase. I'm happy to have signed it. And then we explained this recall provision. She said, wait a minute, I love Kathleen Murphy. Does that mean that a group could come out and recall her and bounce her off the council? And we said, well, as it's written, yes, ma'am, that's exactly what it says. She said, nope. She said, I'm going to take my name off. So when she understood that, she signed her name on a new petition that we are circulating that asked the Election Commission to remove that person's signature prior to certification. Let me give you a second example. Actually, Council Lady Gamble, this is in your district, and you and I are friends. I know you, but we have not talked about this. There was a gentleman that indicated he had signed this petition as well. This petition was mailed out to households about 2 months ago, and his name was James Dawes. James Dawes is an 83-year-old African-American man who didn't fully understand every piece of it. And he said, you know what? He said, I've got some questions about this. And why don't you send me what you need to send me and I'll take a look at it and I'll get back to you. And so we delivered it to his doorstep and left it with him. He said, I'll be back in touch. But yeah, I've got some concerns. He has not signed anything to withdraw his name. And I think it's tough for somebody like me to go speak to Mr. James Dawes, who I've never met before, and ask him to give me his signature to take away his signature from the first petition. And so with your help, with the folks on this call, you all know your constituents far better than I do. You know your districts, you know your people, and you can explain far better than I can what some of these provisions in this petition, in these charter amendments, the 6 different questions, you all can explain far better than I can what this means to budget, what this means to our fire, our police, our metro teachers, our school system, our education funding, what this means to individuals as council members and what that means for recall. And so I'd like to enlist this group's help. And we have a list of folks that have indicated they signed the original petition and have some concerns or don't fully understand it all. And so we're trying to reach out and explain to as many of them as possible. We collected 28 signatures yesterday. I think we've probably got another 30 or 40 folks that have rescinded their petition now. So we've knocked that number down from 256 down to 150, 60, 70 something. But we still have more to go before we can get the election commission to invalidate this entire petition. And this is the second or third time this group has tried to both put these charter amendments on there, recall the mayor, et cetera. This is not recall the mayor, that is separate, but a lot of confusion out there. So I wanted to make sure you all were aware of this and enlist your help in any way if you're so inclined.
Thank you so very much. And you're absolutely correct, because I recall I was actually at the Bellevue Library during the presidential election, and they were trying to do a petition, and they were talking about recalling the council members and things of that nature. And I went up to the tent where they were, and I said, they're telling you about recalling me. I'm one of those council members. You got any questions that you want to ask me, you can. And then they said, well, no, we don't want to recall her, but I am in that list of people that you all are talking about recalling, because I did vote for the tax increase. And let me tell you why I voted for the tax increase. And at that point, I was able to give a better understanding to individuals at that point about what actually went down as it related to the property tax increase. Mr. Maynard has asked to be recognized, and after him, Councilmember Gamble. And thank you. Mr. Maynard, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I just want to speak as a concerned citizen that many people don't understand. They didn't understand when they signed the petition, the ramifications. And I want to be clear on this, that there have been 4 mayors over the last few years. And typically with any city, you need to have, whether you agree with who got elected as a mayor, but you have to have that consistency. You got to have that stability. You have to have sustainability. You have to know the vision of where the city is going. If this thing gets on the ballot and passes, the mayor can be recalled with just 10% of the total vote. And so if the citizens don't agree with who the mayor is, the citizens don't agree with the color of the skin of who the mayor is, the gender of who the mayor is, maybe some politics of who the mayor is, that mayor can then be recalled and then cannot put their name on the ballot and have to run as a write-in. That means that you could have this happen over and over and over again. That will destroy the city of Nashville, metro government. Can you imagine if you are talking about anything that the mayor has to make a tough decision, and that mayor then has to concern herself or himself with the issue that I may be recalled with just 10% of people signing a petition? That's all it takes. It's not you sign a petition and it goes before the people and they vote. It's no, you just have to have 10% sign the petition and your mayor can be recalled. And so I hope that you all will think about that. And I appreciate Darden for bringing this forth. But I also wanted to say, we need to hear your voice. And I hope that the minority
Councilmember Gamble?
Thank you. I just had a follow-up on the timing of this. What is our timeline to get in front of this, and when do those signatures and everything have to be in? Or when do we need to get these changes to stop those signatures from getting in time to be on the ballot?
Sure. Thank you for the question. The election commission has found they've done 2 canvasses through the petition. They found 1,612 signatures automatically invalidated, and then we're going to submit the additional names. The election commission, they don't follow the same rules as some of the other metro agencies. They can have a called meeting at the pleasure of the chair. It's Jim Delanis, I think it is a Republican. If he decides to call a meeting, he must give 48 hours of notice. So at this rate, I don't believe he could call a meeting for Wednesday evening. We understand that it may be Friday evening, and Friday evening, 6 p.m. And they do take public comment at those meetings, but sure enough, Friday evening is pretty tough for the average citizen to come in and go give public comment on a Friday night at 6 p.m. So we believe that it will be Friday at 6 p.m., but it could be called earlier. So we are working like crazy to get enough folks out, kind of beating the bushes on the folks that we believe signed the petition, asking them to rescind their name. NOAA has indicated they're sending a group of people to canvass with us tomorrow. The Equity Alliance, there are a number of other organizations, LIUNA and the laborers. SEIU has sent a couple folks this morning to help us canvass. So we're picking up some momentum, but we still need to send in, and ideally we send in 500 signatures of people that rescind their name so that we have a cushion there on our side. The more the merrier. So time is of the essence. I would be happy to share with each of you the names of folks that we have in your particular district that have indicated to us they signed the petition. It's not a perfect science. There were several versions of this petition, so maybe somebody signed the first one but not the second one. But either way, we do have a good list, somewhere between 45 and 75 in each of your districts of folks that we believe signed the petition. The election commission, the Republican-controlled election commission, is not allowing us to see the 14,000 signatures. They're not releasing that, even though we have a FOIA request in there. They may release it tomorrow, but we've kind of done an end around on them, and we think we have some good names here. In fact, we know we have good names in each of your districts. So I would be happy to send additional information along, explaining kind of point by point some of the things I've just gone over, along with a little script, and then the names of those individuals. I know everybody's time tonight is valuable, so I'm happy to shoot that along electronically to each of you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, Councilmember Gamble and Mr. Maynard. Councilmember Virgil.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It was mentioned that we don't know who's behind the efforts of the referendum effort. Who's behind the efforts of the anti-referendum efforts, and who are all those players?
Sure. So the Jim Roberts is the spokesperson for the proponents, the groups that are trying to put the charter amendments together. On our side, I frankly am a private citizen. I do have I do some work for the Tennessee Titans that are concerned about this. I do some work for the NASCAR group that is trying to secure a long-term lease at the fairgrounds. They have an LOI with Metro government right now, but that would this charter amendment would void that out. The Chamber of Commerce is involved in this. SEIU is involved in this. NOAA is sending folks. I don't think they've taken a formal position, but I do know they're sending canvassers out with us all the rest of this week. I believe the Equity Alliance is sending a handful of folks. SEIU sent several folks today. It really is kind of a loose coalition and strange bedfellows of folks that have read through the charter changes in detail and understand this could be devastating. I believe the realtors are involved here, but I really am doing this pretty much as a private citizen and somebody that has a little expertise in campaigns. So I hope that answers your question, Council Lady Virtue.
It does. How did y'all access from the 35 districts who signed the petition?
We took a survey of folks, and we asked them to tell us if they signed the petition. So these are folks that have taken a survey and kind of self-reported. We have a Facebook questionnaire out there. There's some other social media channels we have. So we're kind of casting a wide net and asking folks if they've signed the petition. So that's basically how we did it. So we don't have all 14,000 names. Again, we've asked the Election Commission for it as a public record, and they've not shared it. So it's sort of a guess. And I can tell you it's a mix of Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and kind of all ages. But in our conversations with voters that have signed it, they tend to be 65 plus, and they tend not to fully understand what it was that they signed, frankly. We think the language was... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
When did y'all start polling? Today's April 12th, so when was the polling done in the 35 districts?
Probably last week was the bulk of it, was the majority of it.
Okay.
And part of that was the Jim Roberts. Jim Roberts is the spokesperson for this group of 40 people. He has primarily, he says, downtown interest, and we weren't sure they had enough signatures. I didn't think they would get enough, and even Jim Roberts initially thought he needed to get to 33 signatures, so we didn't think that was possible. And now there's some question around which general election do we tie this to, and that determines your threshold of how many signatures you need. So we believe, and Councilmember Mendez has opined on Twitter, that Roberts is likely right, that he only needs 12,000 signatures. So he turned in 14,000 signatures about 10 days ago. And so that was when the alarm bells went off for some of us that said, wait a minute, if you actually read this is devastating for the following reasons. And we went through it, and as we learned more about it and try to look at the ramifications of it, that's when we thought, well, we're preparing to gear up for referendums on 6 different questions. And that's going to be expensive. It's going to cost the city, the cost of the election, and it's going to tie up Metro government for the next, 2 or 3 months as we do the special election. Not to mention, it puts everything on hold, just like the mayor's office did a year ago when we thought that referendum was coming. So rather than kind of get ready for the questions to be on the ballot, we thought, gosh, if their cushion is only 256, surely we can find some people to knock it down and then get this thing to where it doesn't even go to the ballot, and then we don't have to go through this big song and dance.
Who's paying for the anti-referendum effort? Like, who's paying for all of the lobbyists that's on board?
Well, I don't know that we have any. I don't know that we have any lobbyists on board. I think we have lobbyists that have clients that understand the challenge this presents, but there's no big campaign, and I can't think of any lobbyist that's paid. I've talked with Baylor Bone, who's a good friend of mine, and she said, hey, I'll be happy to make some calls. And James Weaver, same thing. I think they all understand this would slow down the city considerably, and that in turn probably slows down their clients. But I can't think of anybody that's being paid here.
Okay. Thank you so much. Interesting. That's all my questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. It sounds devastating to me. It sounds like it could be very disruptive and can dismantle our government, especially if they only need 10% of the vote just because they are disappointed, upset, or angry about the way someone votes. So I look forward to receiving the information, and I will definitely participate in trying to call individuals and ask them, especially having seen it firsthand myself, and how people have been misled on the purpose of this, because they're thinking that if they signed this, or when they signed it, that meant that they were going to be able to recall the 34% tax increase, and that's it. And
That's correct.
And it's unfortunate that we even have to spend time to do that when we all are working so very hard for the city to progress and to move forward and do things that's going to be beneficial to all. So thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Copeland? If not, then I'd certainly appreciate you again, Mr. Copeland, for being here, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Madam Chair, thank you very much for the time. We appreciate it. I'm going to sign
Thank
off.
you. Mr. Maynard, did you have any more comments that you wanted to make?
No, I just wanted to say that if you all would consider taking it up as a minority caucus to see whether you oppose this, if that's great. If you do so, thank you. And if any council members on the caucus need us to help you with calling different persons that may be in your district, we would be happy to call. I'd be happy to call them and get my team together to do phone banking if you need me to do it. Again, I'm not getting paid either. I think the question was asked. I'm not getting paid, but knowing what I know that's happening, this is very disruptive, and I'm very concerned, especially considering future mayors and future at-large council persons like myself and future district council persons, that you could just be recalled with just 10% of the signatures is just scary. So I'll be happy to help any council person on calling if you need me to do so and go door to door, get the signatures. I'm willing to do that.
Thank you so much. Considering that, does someone want to make a motion for us to oppose this as a council, or is anyone in favor of it as a caucus? I mean, can someone for there to be some action taken at Minority Caucus? Councilmember Gamble.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we work to support the anti-referendum movement and calling our constituents or those who may have been tricked and not fully understand the ramifications of what these amendment questions would do to our government.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded that we do support. Do we want to also send a letter or some kind of press release or advisory of this as being our position?
I mean,
Yes, Councilmember Gamble.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I think all avenues would help, particularly I guess if the press release was released to the media to let them know of our position, and that might even help with our call, so that when people when they get the call, they'll have an understanding of what's going on as we're calling them or knocking on their door about this.
Thank you, Councilmember Toombs.
thank you, Chair. I was just going to say that I support doing a press release.
Thank you, Councilmember Vercher.
Madam Chair, do we have an official statement from the administration and the Director of Finance, who is ultimately the steward of all the finances of the city as it relates to this? I can't recall seeing or hearing anyone from the executive side and from the judicial side sound the alarm as it relates to this. And I will call my respective district also. I'll just do a soft call to inquire about what's been communicated to the constituents. My line of questioning is a little different because my district, the Southeast, we've endured a lot from other districts here in the city. Not slighting any other districts, but I want to make sure before we get our neighbors up in a uproar that we really have a sound position. And from the gentleman Darden that gave the presentation earlier, he said there's and Councilwoman Gamble posed a question about the different referendums. So and it just came to me like, which one are we communicating? Well, not we. Which one have they been communicating to the districts that they've been calling? I would have liked to have had a heads up before they started playing in my sandbox, but nevertheless, I get the urgency of it. Just for me, and my district knows this, I speak very candid with them as it relates to any matters of the city, but I also pride myself in making sure that I give them accurate, unbiased information so that they can make the best decision as it relates to expressing their democratic voice. Not saying that I don't understand the ramification of it. Just for me and how I communicate with my constituents, I just want to make sure that I'm true to how I've represented them over this 5.5 years, Madam Chair. So I don't know if the administration is on this call or not, if they knew to be on it, for them to have a dialogue with the Minority Caucus as it relates to this.
No, I've not seen any information either, but this doesn't just affect us as sitting council members. It affects any elected official to come if this is made a part of our charter. So I think it's a very serious issue, and regardless, and I understand the democratic process and people having their voices in that, but when there's something bad put before them, I think it's incumbent upon us to make them understand this is not something that you want to support, because it actually dismantles us as a government. And also, as Mr. Copeland said, you can have 80% of those who agree that you've done an excellent job and you're doing things right. But if you get 20% of those who just come together and decide to go against you, then they can dismantle you and your position as a council member. So I do think that we need to move quickly and urgently in order to prevent something like this to happen, because I believe that it will be irreparable if we do not. So
yeah, Madam Chair, that wasn't the purpose of my statement. So I'll just ask candidly. So is what we're doing today is that the Minority Caucus is joining with others, some named, some nameless, as it relates to this anti-referendum movement?
I think the Minority Caucus is making this decision independent of others. Now, they may be like others who have joined the cause to be anti-referendum, but I don't think it's in conjunction with. But I think that's an independent decision. Am I incorrect in that assumption?
I'm just asking I'm just asking where we are in the process as it relates to this. Like the presentation, these groups have been working on it a week and a half. We're getting the information today. The administration, judicial side is silent on the matter. That's the only reason why I'm asking these questions.
Okay, Councilmember Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess just following up to Councilmember Vercher's comments, is the position that that we should wait, I guess, and maybe I'm asking this of Councilmember Vercher, is the position that we should wait and talk to other, talk to the administration, talk to legal, and talk to others, and get their position on it or statement before we decide as a caucus what we feel is the right thing to do?
No, I'm not. I'm not suggesting that we wait. I'm just trying to get. I'm trying to get clarity of the overall process. Calls have gone out. We're just finding out about this today. The judicial side, the executive side, is silent on the matter. And my question is, why? Why do we have a presentation from a concerned citizen? I don't want to belabor the point, Madam Chair. I've asked my questions.
Yeah,
I'll be okay. I'll be okay with whatever the caucus decides, and I'll do my due diligence within my respective district. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, my comment is that I'm not sure any of us can answer that question. So that's why I think that we should just take our own independent position and state it. So it has been properly moved and seconded that we do make a position on this anti-referendum and do a press release and any other efforts necessary to ensure that our voice in opposition is heard. Is there any more discussion? If not, then I will take a roll call vote. Councilmember Lee.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Virtue.
Aye.
Councilmember Gamble.
Aye.
Councilmember Stiles.
Aye.
Councilmember Toombs.
Aye.
And Councilmember Hurt also votes aye. So it's unanimous. Thank you very, very much. Again, thank you, Mr. Copeland, for your presentation, and Mr. Maynard for your participation in the discussion. So now we will have our treasurer's report from Councilmember Stiles. Councilmember Stiles.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry. I was having some difficulty coming back off of mute. You give me 1 second. So our treasurer's report on hand right now, and I did send a physical report out to Rosie, so you should have received it before the meeting. But on hand right now, we have $21,094.27. Since our last meeting, we have had a donation of $2,881.50. Those were sponsorship checks, as well as a $500 check that was actually from last year. And then we have paid out $300 to our entertainment to Will Davenport. We paid $315.27 for the City Club reception. And then we also paid $2,500 to Counterpoint Messaging, and that was actually an invoice that we had from 2020.
So have we not sent a payment to our speaker?
The payment has been sent. They have not cashed it yet.
Okay.
So we are waiting for that.
Thank you.
And that will hopefully be in the next report. And that will be for $3,500.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments regarding our treasurer's report? Councilmember Toombs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was looking at the treasurer's report, and there is, and it looks fine, but there is one item, the counterpoint messaging. Can the treasurer explain what that's for? I don't think it had a, I mean, it's not related to the reception, so I didn't know what that was.
Chair, may I answer?
Yes, sure, absolutely.
So thank you, Councilmember Toombs. That was a payment for some public relations work that was done last year, I believe in June. Is that correct, Madam Chair, for the public relations work that was done?
Several. You recall last year when we had several press releases to go out in regards to the body cameras and the diversity, new American positions and those things. We sought that assistance and some letters and press releases were prepared in order to speak those 5 demands that we had to the mayor, and this was just left over from those efforts that had been made by that group.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Styles.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Madam
Great.
Chair, it's
Thank you very
Councilmember
much.
Styles.
Yes, ma'am.
Just really quickly wanted to say that as of this report, everything is reconciled. Anything outstanding has been collected, and moving forward, we are on point and on time.
That's awesome. And you do have access to the online at the bank.
I sure do. That's
okay.
how I put the report together.
Excellent. I know that was not easy. You know, I guess this COVID has made it a little difficult to do things through the drive-through than it is when you're able to go inside the bank and conduct business. So, but thank you so much for your efforts and persistence in getting everything up to date and activated. So, before I do the president's report, I wanted to give our budget chair, Councilmember Suara, an opportunity to, if she wanted to say anything as we approach budget season, if there's any directions that she wants to do, or just lay out her idea and vision of how we're going to carry that out. And I'd also like for Councilmember Taylor to give us an update on NOS. Councilmember Suara first.
Thank you, Chair, and my apologies for being late. I got my time mixed up, so I'm sorry about that. No, I'm only to reiterate what I said the last time, and I have not seen the list that I wanted to send. I wanted to send like a wish list, which is similar to what the budget chair will be sending later, but I will be sending that out tonight. I had said I would send it last minute. My apologies for not doing that. But I wanted to send it ahead of time so that we can just use it as a to be thinking about things. I don't think we'll be able to have much until the mayor actually presents his budget beginning of next month. And so, but if we just want to see the template, it's the same one that we had last year, that the budget chair shared with us last year, and we'll be using the same template basically for everybody to start thinking about what are some of the priority items, looking at our goals for for this next year, for 2022. What are some of the things that we would like to see in that budget when it comes out? And so if we can use that as a starting point, collect our ideas, and then when the mayor's budget comes out, if it's already there, we can mark it off. And if it's not, then we know those are things that we can talk to the budget chair or present as a wish list from us. So at this time, I think it's just a question of just everybody just thinking in terms of what would we like to see, what is our goal, which area would we like for the budget to focus on, and just having like a wish list or a starting point, just something to start with, and then once we have the budget, we can analyze and collate and see what's there, what we need to take out at that point. So I will email that in case anybody don't remember where it was. I don't know if this year budget chair will use the same one, but I think we can use last year just to get us ready. So that's all I have I will try and send it to everyone tonight. My apologies, but I figure we still have some time before we get into it. Once that budget is presented, I think then we will be able to start our work in earnest at that time. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Councilman Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As for Knowles, the site and visit request. So Knowles is going through an RFQ for all of you that may have not been privy to this information. Knowles is going through an RFQ currently right now for an operator. The site visit request for the RFQ was extended for another week till last Friday. And as of now, I do know that no one took a site visit. And so now during the RFQ, it's time for the RFQ to receive any requests for the quote outside of the site visit. I do know that the current operator at Knowles, which is Anthem Care, just recently submitted a request to add additional patients, and so that's good news. That's really good news for them. And so as we approach this week, I'll follow up with Mary Falls and the mayor's office to see if we have had any additional movement on the RFQ process.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that update. So as for the president's report, I wanted to recognize the El Piso Fund. The Bordeaux Community Investment Group broke ground last week on the first mixed-use project in Bordeaux. The thing of it is that Sam Kirk, who is business owner, he's executive director of Youth About Business, and he has purchased a couple of buildings out there, indicated that the community has been one of those that they've not seen the support from the city. The growth that Nashville is having, but yet there's no growth in that community that has been investments by our city. He says he wonders why it remains that no effort has been made to bring economic development to Bordeaux. It's 10 minutes from downtown, and they're seeing major investments all over the city, but none in the Bordeaux community. It was, the Bordeaux Investment Group is a group of Bordeaux residents and some other friends, people of color, many who are born and raised right here in Nashville, who have decided to put their monies together and create this project. Nashville General Hospital is going to be an anchor in that project and have ancillary services there available to that community, which I think is an awesome thing because many people in that community suffer cancer and asthma and other diseases that very well may be related to the landfill. And you also know that that area had the highest incidence of fatalities at one time for COVID-19. So I think it's an awesome project and an awesome thing that this group has come together. And I'd like to recommend that the Minority Caucus give a donation to the group, and wanted to bring it forth to you all to see if it's something that we could do to show our support for this effort. I definitely welcome any comments or thoughts in regards to that. Councilmember Toombs.
Thank you, Chair. Is the Bordeaux Investment Group, is that a nonprofit?
I believe that it is a nonprofit, but if it's the El Piso Fund is
Okay.
the I don't know if they're LLC or if the Bordeaux Investment Group is the nonprofit associated with the El Piso Fund. So I'm not, I'd have to look at it to see for sure, but I do know that that they do have a special fund, and maybe while we have some other discussions, I can look it up and find that out for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That would be
Okay.
my only concern, whether or not it's a nonprofit, because I think most of our funds are PAC funds. So just making sure that we were doing things appropriately.
Okay, great. And I'm glad you said that. I need someone who has that knowledge to, indicate whether it's a legal thing or a right thing, or if it's okay to do it. So thank you very much.
No problem.
Any other comments about it? Or did anybody have a chance to look at it and see the comments? It was a great groundbreaking for it. And I understand that, and the mayor actually came out and made some comments in regards to the development itself. But I have since heard that he may not be as happy about the development as had been presented, which I know that could be catastrophic if things were not able to move forward for that group as they have planned at this particular time. So we need to be engaged. We are the Minority Caucus, and we need to be supportive and very vigilant in efforts regarding our Black community. And I think we should be excited about this project and very happy that we've got a group of community citizens to come together about 5 years ago, I think it was, with this idea, and they've stayed unmovable in this effort and steadfast to ensure, and they've got a ways to go. And that's why it's really important for us to show our support as well to them. They came in and things are done in a time that others control what we can and cannot do. And this they have taken themselves. So I'm really, really happy and grateful for this effort.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm on my phone and I don't have the raise hand button, so my apologies for cutting in. I think it's great, and I think that as chair of Affordable Housing, we want to see development and we want to see mixed use because we do not want concentrated properties. And so this is a big thing, and I'm glad it's the citizens and the residents there that are coming together. My question is, I know that Councilmember Hall is no longer part of the caucus. Is he aware of this project, or is this something that we're talking to him about, or is he a part of it? Just curious as to his involvement with this, since that, I believe, will be his area.
Yes, Councilmember Hall is a part of, well, he's aware of it. He participated in the groundbreaking ceremony and presented a resolution. I was able to stand with him, and he particularly is one that made a comment about the mayor not really providing the support to the group, as he had indicated that he was really glad and happy to see. And it was Councilmember Hall who indicated on social media that the mayor was not really doing the things that he basically said that he appreciated about the project. So to answer your question, yes, he is in support of the project, and he participated. Councilmember Virtue.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Was this a minority firm?
Yes.
Did they pay 100% or will they be paying 100% for the infrastructure?
Yes, you know what was so beautiful, the project they call the Legacy Development, Dr. Charles Kimbrough owned the land, and he indicated that he wanted something good for the community to go in that land. And his sister owned the other half of the land, Miss Qualls. She and her husband were there, and they were talking about how they wanted to see something in the community done by the community. And while they didn't give the land away, they did offer them a good price, something for them to be able to work with. And they privately raised the funds in order to purchase the land. And I know for the development, Wilson Bank and Trust were also there, and I think they may do some financing of it, but it is a private group of individuals that came together. Councilmember Toombs.
So in the last capital spending plan that we passed as a council, there's a participation agreement pilot where the city is looking for, you know, smaller developers who to enter into agreements where the city goes in with them to do infrastructure improvements. Since this is the first mixed-use project in Bordeaux, maybe there's an opportunity for the city to have some type of agreement to assist with any infrastructure improvements that's part of that project.
Yes, I think this would be a perfect project. I was just looking at it. The El Piso Fund is an LLC. The filing date was January 14, 2015. The registered agent, Cyrus Booker. But I'm sure his him being the attorney for it. But they had a good number of some people who have been in the community for quite some time, trying to make something like this happen. So it was really, really good. I'm trying to find out to see if the Bordeaux Investment Group, if they have a nonprofit. I don't see that as of yet, but I have gotten information that it would be appropriate for the Minority Caucus to donate to the El Piso Fund to this project. Both Councilmember Toombs and Virgil, your hands are still up. Did you have something else you wanted to say?
No, Madam Chair. I was just asking those questions so publicly it is known that this minority firm is bearing 100% of the cost for everything, including infrastructure.
Right.
That was the reason for the question, Madam Chair. I already knew the answer, but that was the question for the chair so that the public can hear. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. So, does anyone want to make throw out a number that we might be donating? I know I was thinking that we should give at least $1,000 towards the project, and I don't know if anyone else agrees or think that there should be or if we should give more. Any thoughts?
Madam Chair, Councilwoman Gamble, do we know if there is a sponsorship levels or a average amount, or do we know, are we putting it towards a specific part of the development, or is just a overall general, going to the general fund? That might help with an amount.
Well, it doesn't say from the information that I have looked to for that. It doesn't say there are any sponsorship levels. It's just asking, giving some information about the project itself and directions, and you can indicate your name and create an account. And if you want to give, you can. That's all I'm seeing as I look through it. And I looked at it earlier, and I've looked at a couple of other to see, where it's coming up and what needs to be done. But there is no sponsorship. It's just indicating that user for contributions.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, this is Councilmember Styles, and I can't seem to get my hand to go up. But as we're having this conversation, there isn't a sponsorship packet. And was there an amount that you were thinking of in terms of wanting to give for this?
Well, I basically just said $1,000, and because we give one time doesn't mean that we can't give again if we find that, it doesn't have to be a one-time gift that we give. So I think that they're looking for the project to be completed by 2022, and I'm sure with most people who do fundraising, anything is appreciated. So not wanting to make it a very difficult decision, I just thought that I would, recommend $1,000 to show
Madam Chair,
support from the caucus. Yes.
Councilman Taylor, would it be possible to receive a proposal for a request? I would prefer that with my background in funding and giving, it would be helpful to have a proposal for request, so we can then make a suggestion amount. It doesn't have to be a suggestion amount that they ask, but it'd be great to have a proposal for request for this gift if we choose to do so.
Are you saying a proposal from the El Piso Fund?
That'd be great, yes. So we can have it on
I'd
record.
have to reach out to them to see if that is so, but I don't think that we've had proposals from other projects or other donations that we've given.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that that's not a good idea, but let me say this again. This is a minority, a Black-led, organized effort for the Black community that has been neglected by the city. And we, as the Minority Caucus, can express our support by giving a donation. And regardless of how little or how much it is, I am sure that the El Piso Fund would be appreciative to know that the Minority Caucus is standing with them.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Styles here. I do think, to your point about presenting materials or information, that maybe this is something that we could begin to employ as a policy. That we do try and present whatever information there may be, whether it's a letter or a website or something, so that we're not voting on it in the present meeting, we can be prepared to vote on it in the next meeting and have some more information as well.
Okay, there are several websites that I can share right now. www.elpizofund.com, elpizofund.com. I'll be happy to send this information out that and I know that's the information on the card that they gave to everyone last week.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I think it's a great idea that we support it. And I don't think we need to ask for anything on this one since we've never asked before. I think we can put a policy of asking for the next ones going forward for best practices. I think it's a good thing to do, but not necessarily for this one. My only thing though is that the 1,000 is random. It could be little, it might not be enough because it's not targeting something specific. I really would like to know if they want to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, maybe we can pay for sponsor the zoning or do something, you know what I mean? So that we can make it that way, specifically saying this 1,000 goes towards this as part of the project. But if there's nothing specific that we can tie it to, and we want to go ahead and make a decision now, then we can go with the 1,000. If you think that's a good amount, then we can go with that. I think for me, it would be nice to have, you know, X amount will do X part of it. But if we just want to show a goodwill gesture to say that we support you as part of the Minority Caucus, we know it's not going to do much, but at least it's a good faith effort, then I will say, let's go ahead and do the 1,000 and move forward. And I'll be glad to make a motion if that's the will of the body.
Thank you. Councilmember Suara, Councilmember Lee.
Is that a motion on the floor?
I was going to ask.
Yes, it has been properly moved and seconded that we give $1,000 to the El Piso Fund. Any discussion?
Yes, that's what I thought I was doing.
Okay, yes, Councilmember Lee.
Okay, so I am following through, and I guess, no, it's not, I guess it's a question as much as it is discussion. What I thought I heard Madam Z say was, and if it wasn't, maybe this is part of the discussion to have on to that was it to ask them what is needed, and we look at seeing if we can actually do what is needed, or if that's not it, then do the $1,000. But I am in favor of doing the donation of $1,000.
So yes, that's basically the essence of it. I was suggesting a $1,000 just for showing goodwill and support. But as I stated, it doesn't have to be a one-time gift. If we find that there is more, I don't think that you know it's anything that we necessarily can underwrite for the fund, but I think that they're, you know, based on the spirit of what I saw and heard when I was there, is that they are, this is a community effort, and they would love for the community to participate. So anyone who's willing to donate $5 or $10 towards the project, that they would be receptive of it. So
thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. So it's been properly moved and seconded that we give a $1,000 donation. Are there any more discussions, any questions or comments? If not, can we have a roll call vote? Councilmember Lee?
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Councilmember Vercher?
Aye.
Councilmember Gamble?
Aye.
Councilmember Stiles?
Aye.
Councilmember Toombs?
Aye.
Councilmember Suara? And Councilmember Hurt, I also vote aye. So to that same point, I have mentioned to you all about the project that has come from the remnants of the plaque that was downtown in the courthouse with Diane Nash and others. That project is still moving forward, and that group has set a $75,000 fundraising goal. Right now, I don't think that they are at the point of necessarily asking for those donations, but I did want to alert you all of the intent. And I think at our next meeting, we'll probably lay out some of those things, and they will then bring some things forward where I'll be able to let you all know if there is a specific donation that they're going to be asking from groups. Thank you
Madam
all.
Chair,
Yes.
if I may add, I think that it will be, and if we have to put it in form of a motion or whatever we need to do, I think going forward, anyone that wants to ask us for money should submit an invoice, a proposal, something to say this is what it's for, and something for our treasurer to be able to add to the check as support. I think we haven't done that in the past, but I think we never agreed to. But I think as we're moving forward, I think we need to make that decision, especially if we'll be giving out more money.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would agree wholeheartedly. And actually, I think this is probably about the, we gave some monies, but in terms of us having funds to actually give for donations to specific projects like these, this is the first time that we've actually had a surplus of money to be able to do so in the way that we have this year. So thank you very much. Councilmember Styles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to second Councilmember Zwara's suggestion. I know I put it out there vaguely, and thank you for honing it, Councilmember Zwara, so that we do have a policy in place moving forward.
Thank you. Do you all want to take a vote? Do we need to take a vote on this and make it official from the body? Or is it just by common consent? I think the common consent is good. I don't think anyone is opposed to that. I think it's a good practice to do so. So thank you both. Also, I wanted to just give you an update. I've reached out to Mike Wallace, who is the NBC Leo NLC liaison, who gave NBC Leo board a very extensive presentation about the American Rescue Plan funds. And he was actually on vacation tonight. He was willing to do it next week, but I told him that we meet monthly. So I'm inviting him to come to give us a presentation about the American Rescue Plan funds. He indicated that the funds were going to be distributed probably by May 1st, and at least half of the funds will be distributed to cities by May 1st, and with some things they particularly would like to see these funds to help small businesses, households, and nonprofits, and especially those in the underserved communities. It's been a great discussion to see how these plans have been outlined from our president and what its intent is to stabilize communities, and many of them are communities of color. So I am excited about that and looking forward to it. And I also wanted to let you know that we had an opportunity to meet with Michael Regan, who is the administrator for EPA. And he was very personable. And they asked me if I would give a a small presentation, a short presentation about uh, environmental interests for Nashville, and I spoke about the Bordeaux landfill. And subsequent to that, they asked if I would be featured during their May newsletter to highlight some of those environmental injustices that we have here. And I submitted to them just briefly about Tennessee. Had Memphis sanitation workers because that was the very first national mobilization of protest against an environmental justice. And I mentioned the Bordeaux landfill, the Davidson County toxic waste issue that we have, as well as McMinnville toxic waste protest that was done. And I'm really excited about the work that is being done with NBC Leo, and it can very well help us as a city with things that are happening on a federal level. So I don't have anything else that I wanted to share within my report. Is there any new business that needs to be discussed?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
this is Councilmember Swara, and I want to apologize to everyone because something just popped up in my head, and I want to make sure that I say it before we close. And it's with regards to the votes that we just took on the $1,000 that I made the motion for. I want to put a caveat there that before we write the check, that we check that we can actually donate to the organization. One of the thought is that if this is a project that will come before council to vote on, does it create a conflict for all of us to where we may not be able to vote on it? $1,000 is not a lot of money. I want us to support this project as best as we can, as much as we can. And I was so eager to do that, but I don't know all the parameters of everything, and I don't know how everything works. But it was just a thought that just popped into my head that if this development will require any kind of funding or thing that comes through the council, does donating to it do anything? I don't know, please. I'm just putting that out there that if we can check all of that and see if it's where we cannot as a body, then maybe if individual wants to, I don't know how it will work out. It's just a thought, and I want to make sure that I share it before we close out. And I'm sorry to pull us back, but it's the first time we're doing it because it's a development, it's not an organization. And so is it a non-profit? I know Councilmember Toombs was asking, and I don't know if we got all those answers. So I'm saying that I'm not receiving the votes stand, but I said before we do anything, that we confirm all those parameters before the treasurer issues the check. And if we're not able to, then the treasurer can let you know and let us know.
So I know that we gave $1,000 to Tennessee State for a scholarship. Now I do know that Tennessee State is a nonprofit organization.
Yes,
and I also know that Tennessee State has received funds from the city before.
Okay.
So I don't know, and I don't think that it would be a conflict, considering that these funds that we are giving are separate from the city, and and raised privately.
Okay.
So I don't see how the conflict would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I'm new at all of this. It's just a thought, and so I just wanted to put it out there to just make sure that we'll, cross our T's and dot our I's, and I'll leave it to you, Councilmember Virtue and Councilmember Toombs, and Styles to guide the conversation. I don't know, honestly, I don't. I'm just putting it out there to make sure that we don't, I'm just putting it out there because I don't know. I was very eager. I did not think it through. My apologies for that. But I'm saying that let's just be sure that we do all of that. And again,
Right. I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be a problem. Although we can reach out to some other financial experts or legal. But I know that we have other caucuses that are part of the Metro Council, and they may give donations, and it never comes before the council on those donations that those other caucuses do. So I think this is actually operating separate.
thank you.
But again, I will follow up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, comments, concerns? If not, then may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Thank you very much. You all have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
See you. Good night.
Good night.